I want to welcome Jeanne Jaffe, Jeanne officially, Jeannie conversationally. We've been working together for the last few months on your show, and we had the great fortune, Evelyn and Bill and I came up to New York while you had the show at L'Espace Gallery in Chelsea, and got to enjoy your artist talk there and got to have lunch together. So because you live in Florida, that was the first time we actually met in person. And it was like, fast friends. And it really confirmed the fact that we needed to at least do a Zoom artist talk so that we could all reunite. And especially because of your long history in Philadelphia and it
Yeah.
clearly worked. A lot of Philadelphia friends want to hear you and see you. And I'm so glad that this worked out. So thanks to everybody who joined us. And we thought that we would start we're going to be on for about an hour, and we would start by just going through the viewing room show. And Jeannie's going to narrate a little bit, explaining the different bodies of work and her thought process around it. Then I have a couple of questions for Jeannie. After that, a little studio tour to see where the physical space that you're in. And then we'll have about 10 minutes for others to ask questions. So if you have questions in mind, hold on to them and we'll get to that at the end.
And also, sorry, I couldn't come up to Philly. I'd love to, I am planning to come up at some point because I'd love to see everybody in person. But it's expensive and long trip and all that. So that's why we're doing it this way.
And when we were planning, we also were sort of not sure about weather. I mean, March comes in like a lion, and we've had lion and lamb weather all in the last, like 72 hours. So, all right. So I'm going to share my screen, and we'll go to the viewing room. One second. I also, before we start, want to give a shout out to Evelyn, who works with me here at the foundation. Among Evelyn's many skills and responsibilities is designing these viewing room shows, which I think are just, exquisite. And each one of them really captures the vibe of the artist and of the work at hand. And also, especially for Jeannie's work, integrating the technology, the videos so seamlessly into the viewing room is really a great way to see Jeannie's work, which we saw even in the gallery in New York. You have these very clean, chic screens on stands that brought the animation into the physical space. So this is the digital version of that. Okay, so stories of transformations. Tell
Okay.
us, Jeannie.
Well, all of this work, why don't you go to the first image? Yeah, this image. All of this work, one of the things I'm really interested in is how we become who we become. And that is both a cultural conditioning and it's also a body experience before we have language. So, can everyone hear me? Yeah, okay. So some of the work originally, and this has been an ongoing project that I've worked on for many years, I'm developing a language system that's a visual language system that's based on hybrids or fusions of things. I'm really interested in how would we make sense of the world before we have language. And one of the things I think that happens, we make associations between what we see and know and what is out there. The world is actually created in our own image too, and industrial design and all, we tend to do that. So this is a room where you walk through it and hopefully the viewer can begin to make their own sets of associations. I don't know, can you go in on that at all closer?
Let's try. No,
Maybe not.
maybe. Oh, yeah.
So you can see that these are fusions of things. For example, there are some things that are like, that are like branching issues. branching forms, but also like river forms, like interior vessels, and each of the forms, and it's hard to see them, has a fusion of multiple meanings and multiple associations. So it's never this or that. It's always this and that and that. And I'm very interested in how transformation happens that way, how language starts to rigidify that a bit, okay? And how our original experience of things is more phenomenological and more about how association. So in a sense, I'm convinced that we start making metaphors very early before we have language. In other words, a metaphor is not a linguistic thing. It's also a visual thing. So a lot of these are metaphors for in-between liminal kind of objects and states of being. Okay, so now you can go down.
I think it enlarged everything but the photo.
Yeah.
So hold on, let me just go back to normal size. Okay.
Just go down to the next one, and then we'll go back. So this is part of the show in New York. And what I have started to do, first of all, I've done a lot of things, and we're going to see all of these because I've worked with both storytelling, which is going to be towards the end, and how we're conditioned by stories and how we're conditioned by language. And then I've also worked with things that are these kind of hybrids. So I took the language system and started combining things until I started making these kind of creatures that are both archaic, but also futuristic. If you go down one, for example, this is a good example. They're almost like earphones, but they're also like hairstyles on the figure. And it has like almost animal architectural form down at the bottom. Okay, now go back up and then go to the video. Okay, so all these videos, all these forms would have with them animations. You can let it play twice. And each animation really shows the possibility within the forms and how transformation occurs through change and association. Let it play one more time because we missed the beginning of it.
Okay. They're so fun.
Okay. Now you can go down further. Down further. Okay, these are other examples of the animations, and these are ceramic heads that you can see through the mouth on one side, out the eyes of the figure on the other, and then each of them is animated. So these are two male-female figures and their animations.
When did you start making animations?
About a year and a half ago.
Oh.
Because I even wanted those first pre-verbal things to be animated. And I actually talked to somebody about adding sound and motion into them. And at the time, this was years ago when I was starting it was very hard and expensive to do. And I've always wanted these figures to be able to come alive and don't have the money, frankly, to actually make them kinetic and make them go through these transformations. So animation seemed to be the best way to do it. For the next show I'm having in the fall here, I'm now taking some of these ceramic sculptures and projecting areas of animation. So it's like the thought process of the figure. So anyway, so that one head turns into a spine on the one side. And in each instance, there's kind of a phoenix-like thing where they go from being to non-being or dissolving or things like that. Okay, keep going down. Play the one on the left. And this is the one on the right. Whoops, you got to take it back. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the one on the right. And then this is it transforming. And it becomes a pelvis. So it goes through the different kind of spinal parts, body parts, skin parts, and also into internal parts, and how something contains all of that. So it's not just what you see on the outside. It's not what you just see instantly. It's kind of a fusion of all the things that are visible, that are invisible, and that transform. So that's kind of what I'm exploring in the work. So in this body of work, if we go down further. Okay, these are bigger than I am, and that's not saying much. I know that, but it is bigger than I am, and those are interactive in that you can see inside them. The mouth, I'll show you one a little later that these generated from. You can look through the mouth and see out the eyes of the other. So it's really an attempt to put you in the spot. Instead of just looking at something, you're kind of looking into it and looking through it and looking at the world through it. And so these are meant to be seen and interacted with.
And what are these also ceramic?
No, these are now resin. Oh, that's the other thing. So I went a long time ago. I was hit by a car. That's how I started with paper. I've had to move. Originally, I started in ceramics. I was hit by a car. I couldn't pick up heavy things. I started doing cast paper so that I could pick it up, and it was cheap to do. But then when I got better and wanted to do large things, I can't. I've done some things in bronze and some things in wood, but it turned out resin was really great because it can be outside and it's lightweight. Two people can pick that up easily, me being one of them. And so, yeah, these are in resin. Keep going down. This is the one it started from, that kind of series. It was where eyes really are reaching out to the world through hands and through touch. So the eyes can touch the world, but can't speak. And on the other side is the mouth, where everything comes into the body through these apertures and goes out through these apertures. So that's where those started from.
I noticed that Gerard is on our Zoom as well. And just a quick shout out to Gerard Silva, the curator at Fleischer. Thank you for participating with us, writing this essay about Jeanne's work. And while Jeanne got her Fleischer challenge before it was a Wind challenge back in 1979, and Gerard definitely was not at Fleischer at that time, you are stewarding the program in such a meaningful and powerful and creative way. We were just at a Wind Challenge opening a Friday or two ago, and it's just amazing to see this program continue 50 plus years later. And most of you probably know, but over the last 5 years, Evelyn and I here at the Dina Wind Art Foundation have created a digital archive of all 600 plus artists who have received Fleischer Wind Challenge shows in that 50, 60-year period. It lives on our website and also on Fleischer's website. So just a little shout out to Fleischer and the Wind Challenge and Gerard. Okay, Jeanne, back to you.
Okay, go on back down. Okay, now this is the beginning of storytelling. I actually go clear down to the bottom of the page first. Clear down. Whoops, we're not going to be able, no, I guess it's not there. I thought we had Little Red Riding Hood as a crime scene somewhere. There it is.
Oh,
Yeah,
right here.
where that foot is. Yeah, so some of these started a while ago where I started re-examining the stories we're told because I got interested in, okay, once we enter a language, we're taught what to think, we're taught what to feel, we're taught how to perceive, and we actually stop experiencing directly things. We begin to experience things through names, through the naming of the thing. And I wanted to see, and that same goes with stories. We're told how to be through the stories we're told, and we're told how the world is through the stories we are told. So I got interested in looking at different stories, especially childhood stories. And one of the first ones I did was Little Red Riding Hood as a crime scene, where the wolf became the victim. So those legs are about 5 feet tall. So Little Red Riding Hood becomes huge. And the wolf is in a very vulnerable position. And he becomes the victim of, from my perspective, you can barely see it, but in the back it says, what big eyes you have, what big teeth you have. So in a sense, to me, it was about human greed, and that the nature becomes a victim of human greed. So when you walk through this installation, those little letters in the back, when you walk through it, you could read what the wolf is saying to Little Red Riding Hood instead of the reverse. So that was one of the first ones. And then I went up. Now you need to go back up to Alice in Dystopia. Oh, those are, I'll explain this since we're here. Yeah. Alice in Dystopia was a stop motion animation I made in 2021 or 2022. And then what I did is I made very large versions of the characters in the film so that the audience would watch the film that we're going to show you, or try to show you, some of at least, and then walk around and have the experience of being small relative to really large. These are both about 9 feet tall. So the one on the left is Alice. It's actually, in the film, it's Alice's conscience. We'll try to show you that. And it's about, you can see that it's down at the bottom is the world map that then is feeding up into a little heart near her feet. And the vines of the heart go up into the plant. And in her other hand is a phoenix. So this whole thing is about transformation and the relationship between things. Again, the bronchial tubes are similar to the roots of the plant, just like I had in the preverbal thing. The other one is the caterpillar transforming and into a butterfly. And in his center is one of those hair heirloom things that says, for my mother. So it's becoming the mother of the self, in a sense, or of the transformation that occurs. So now we can go back up to Alice in Dystopia. Keep going. Okay, now we're gonna, if you can go back to the beginning of it.
Yep.
We just realized before we came on that the sound is a problem. So I'm going to narrate a bit as we go through this. But oh, I can hear the sound. Can you hear the sound now? Hey, whatever you did, it worked. So we're going to watch this. It's just if you can blow it up so everybody can see.
That's asking a lot.
Just Leave it
It's those
there.
arrows on the right, John, the bottom right, when you hover over it to expand the screen.
Okay, hold on. My
Can we start
yeah.
again? Let's put it on and start again. Okay,
That's great.
okay, great. This is just 7 minutes, so it won't take that long, but it's worth watching the whole thing because you'll get an idea of what I'm talking about.
And then, Jeannie, we're going to have to jump onto our Q&A.
That's fine. I did this during COVID, where people really had to re-examine who they need to be. And this is frequently about what happened, what was happening in the world, because they go down the wrong rabbit hole. Alice and the rabbit go down the wrong rabbit hole and end up in 2020. So that's the caterpillar that's been blown up. You saw the sculpture of it.
Who are you?
I don't know who I am anymore. I've seen so much destruction, devastation, sorrow and suffering. I don't know where I am or what to do.
That's Lewis Carroll, the author.
Where are we, Lewis Carroll?
I don't know. This is not the story I wrote. The bones of my ancestors. I am trying to restore them. Can you help?
double for her content.
Where am I? And who are you? You must answer that yourself.
Oops.
Wow. It's
So
it's
that's
epic.
that's now working on one that's been a little trickier because it's about history and it's about the Indian Removal Act of 1830, and there's a whole story on that. But anyway, should we ask for questions, or do you guys want
Well,
to ask questions
let,
first?
let's start with the questions that you and I had talked about.
Okay.
First, and this is without giving away any trade secrets, I'm sure everyone is wondering, how do you make these animations? The quick new ones, did you work with collaborators on this,
No,
Alice?
I did everything. And one of the advantages of teaching is I had to learn stop motion animation to teach my students. And so that was really valuable. And I always mentioned, like I mentioned earlier, I've always wanted to animate the objects. But I also wanted to, I was getting tired of working large and wanted to work in a scale I could manage. So the stop motion allowed me to make small marionettes and sets and then make a whole world. And then, so that's just done in Adobe Premiere, basically filming it. So I made everything, filmed it, edited it, found the sound for it. And because you can buy sound, you know, you have to go through a bunch of things, but I tried to find sound that would fit each section. And then with the animations of the newer pieces, that's done by taking clippets of AI and taking it into Adobe Premiere and just working it the same way as I work the stop motion, but with without a storyline that's set, if that makes sense.
More or less, yeah.
More or less.
Did you consider using music with the
I
animation?
did, but at the show, there were so many of them because each sculpture has its own animation. Each sculpture has its own transformation, and it would have been too chaotic
Right.
to, I also, for the next show, I have a huge grid of these that will be projected of the animations. And again, it would be, the sound would be, it would drive you crazy because just trying to watch all these transformations is heroic for people to do. So, yeah, but the other thing is sound. Here's the problem with sound. In those other animations, sound is too specific. You know, like I knew I wanted specific kinds of sounds. Sound adds to a visual thing, but it also distracts from the possibility of all the visual associations that you can make on your own if you're just watching it. Because if I added sound like fire to some of the ones that, it draws too much attention to just the fire. And that's not really what it's about. It's about one burning.
Jeanne, you mentioned earlier being a teacher, and you've been a teacher for most of your career as well as an artist. So how do you see those two roles interplaying?
Well, the good thing is the teaching made me have to keep very contemporary and keep learning, which I love. And I mean, that's why I like teaching. It also helped me try to help other people get to what's essential in their work, whatever that is, and also kept me pretty open-minded because I had to like really look for the best in whatever I was seeing and not take a particular stance on anything. I think I shouldn't say this, but I'm going to, that I think one of the problems with the institution of art institutions, it's not like you're teaching medical information or law information. It's that you're teaching taste. And you're kind of teaching what is like, there's too much of one's own taste possible that will inhibit somebody that you have no idea what they're going to do. So a lot of it's kind of teaching good taste. And it taught me not to care about good taste.
One of the most unique aspects of your teaching has been your ongoing relationship with the school in China. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, I love teaching there. Well, the nice thing about I was asked to teach in China for five-year consecutive years for 3 months each year. And what was nice is I started in archaeology. So it allowed me to go back to China and go to all the archaeological sites. And it also allowed me to work with the students there with their own mythology. So I had them creating installations based on their own mythology. So I was able, again, this thing of everybody mutually learning is really, in the end, you know, what one would hope teaching would be. And yeah.
Would you say that was your own practice influenced by your experiences in China or by Chinese culture or anthropology?
No, not really. I would say my own practice is frequently informed by reading. I think most of my work is informed by what I read, and a lot of psychology, you know, a lot of philosophy, and just trying to find forms that fit to the things I'm thinking about.
Right.
More than anything else.
When we spoke last week, you wanted me to ask a question about preverbal and the conditioning of language.
Oh, yeah, I think I talked about it. I wanted to make sure I talked about it. I just am convinced that at this point in culture, there's a certain amount of agency that's lost by personal agency, by consumer culture, by conditioning, by what we're conditioned to want, by language itself. And and I'm trying to figure out a way to supply some kind of experience that gets outside of that somehow, and it's very hard. And but I at least want people to think about like their own conditioning and what is their immediate intense experience. So I think that's the crux of what the work's about.
When was the Alice video done?
2020, I started it in 2020 and finished it in 2021.
It's
So,
really, I'm sorry, go on.
well, so I didn't know exactly where. I knew I wanted to go into another world. I wanted them to go down the wrong rabbit hole and end up someplace where they had to re-examine everything. But then COVID came along right as I was working on it, and it just seemed so apropos of what people found themselves in terms of condition of being in a world that wasn't the same
Right.
as what they expected.
I was asking about the time frame because I'm struck by how your practice has such a it's like you've created a language of your own, and the paper mache and the animation, like these things recur since your Fleischer show, which if you've for those of you who've seen the whole viewing room, you know at the bottom we discovered that Dina and Jerry Wind bought a couple of Jeanne's pieces, not from the Fleischer show, but from that era. And those pieces were in their house in Gladwin, and Lee and I saw them for years. So that was very much the 90s. And now, you know, I'm meeting you in 2026, and to see how that language has evolved and grown and, you know, found its voice through animation and new ways of iterating. It's really
it's new ways of
fascinating.
iterating. It's new ways of iterating. It's the same issue. And how do you examine it over and over and over again?
Do you have any memories?
Angles. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any memories of the Fleischer show?
Oh, yeah, I do. It was really important to me. I mean, I'm sure it's important to anybody that gets it. You know, I was young and I'm not anymore. And, you know, it meant a lot.
That's great.
Yeah.
Very, very cool. Do you want to give us a short and scrappy tour of your studio?
Be scrappy. So I can give you that, or we could go to questions. Do you want scrappy tour first?
I think everybody's a little voyeuristic. It's fun
but
to
it's
see.
Really scrappy because I have to turn the video around. What's
Tell
that?
us where are we?
Oh,
right
this is in Miami in the Collective 62, and it's in North Miami. And it's a good hour and a half from my house. So that's been a real problem. Yeah. So I'm going to turn this around. You guys have to tell me what I'm showing you and what you can see and what you can't, because I can't see much.
John, can I make a suggestion?
Yes.
Pin Jeanne's video, and that way it'll be big on everyone's screen.
Here.
Okay,
At the top right of her video, there's that top right, there's that thing with 3 little dots, the little box, and you're gonna do pin.
Okay, hold on. You are my primary person now, so pin. Oh yeah. Is that better?
Didn't change it for me.
Jeanne, are you there?
Everybody can play along. You can go to Jeanne's.
You guys have to tell me whether it's better. I can't.
Oh, I guess everybody should go to a speaker view if Jeanne's speaking.
Or we can cut this out if it doesn't work.
No, it's cool. Or you can just do what I did, which is I went to Jeanne's video and I clicked the 3 things and I said pin video. And now I see Jeanne's video really big.
So each person has to pin it. Jeanne, it looks like a lot of this is work that was in the L'Espace show in New York.
Yeah, L'Espace show. Yeah.
Space,
A lot of it is, but a lot of it isn't.
Right.
Here's some of the, like, some of these are, that's a good example of hybrid. Because it's both, I don't know if I can, it's eyes, but it's breasts, and it's also a portrait head of a cartoon figure almost. Okay, and then you can also see these are the videos on their stands.
Oh yeah, that's what I was talking about.
And then there's this another sculpture, sculpture. This a sculpture, sculpture.
What is pulsing? Is there like a strobe light in the studio?
No, I think it's the sunlight
Oh,
coming in
okay.
and out. Okay, so is that okay? Did you get
Yeah,
a sense of it?
that was
Okay,
great.
so we can open it up for other questions from people
Mhm.
that way now.
Great. So if you have a question, just unmute yourself and we'll just take it from there.
And if there are no questions, that's fine too. So,
I have a question. I'm Lee. Hi. I'm John's little brother from
oh,
California.
hi,
Nice to meet you, and thank you for that tour and the questions. The space you just showed us, that looks like a gallery space. It doesn't look like where you actually create the work, or are you just
I
incredibly
don't create
neat?
the work here. No, I can't create the work. You figure I'm working in ceramics, which needs a kiln, which I don't have. So and in resin, large resins, which I don't have the space for. So I go to the locations where the different ways of working are that I can actually use. Like even for the ceramics, I'm taking a class that gives me access to kilns.
And
Okay.
does your process involve like sketching on like an iPad or in a physical journal, or do you just do it when you
You
have
know
the
what I
materials in front of
do?
you?
Well, I kind of work with my hands, letting my hands think. So I just start with a lump of clay and I just move it until it reminds me of something. And then I move it until it reminds me of something again. And I keep that process going and then I stop. So that's pretty much how these things are made. That it's kind of the non-language, non-linear way of thinking. So I try to let these things come up.
Cool, thanks.
Yeah, thank you. Anybody else? It's so
Yeah,
nice
I
to
have
see.
something. Jeannie,
Yeah,
I was looking at your Alice video and it was really hard not to think about what's going on now,
correct.
the wrong rabbit hole. And I'm just wondering if the political landscape is affecting you as you go forward.
That's a really good question. Um, oh, the political thing's such a mess right now in my mind. I mean, it's just such a mess that I'm paralyzed to some extent. Now, the one thing, like I said, that I wanted to do was with this, the little bit of thing I could do is this historical thing of the Indian Removal Act, because there was a woman, Catherine Beecher, who is sister of Catherine Beecher Stowe, and she wrote against the Indian Removal Act to Congress. So there was a big movement to not permit that. And she lost, obviously. So it's this, and then down here, what's really interesting is Osceola was one of the big leaders of the Seminole tribe. And there's places named after him, and they don't know this whole history that he was captured by a false flag of truce down in St. Augustine. So I think the only way I can do something is by those little kind of stories about, in a sense, about justice, injustice, about treachery, about, and then the only other way I think I can do it is this deconditioning thing, because I'm convinced that nothing's going to change politically unless people do their own internal work, because value systems have to change. In other words, you can't, if the value systems of people changed, then if we could be decolonized in our own minds from everything that we've been taught that we need to value, then you'd have the world would go in a different direction. You wouldn't have to legislate because there'd be enough people wanting something other than what we've got. But it's going, it's just full steam ahead, it seems to me.
Pretty utopian.
I am. I'm an idealist, bottom line. And I know it's a little ridiculous, but on the other hand, I don't see any other way of surviving. Surviving.
Mhm.
If
I
that,
have, I
yes.
have a question.
Virginia, hi.
I turned my camera back on. I was in the kitchen. I
No
apologize.
problem. No
You didn't
problem.
want to see me cooking. Since Blaze and I have gotten to see your studio,
Yes.
you want to talk a bit about what a unique studio situation it is with the other artists and with the marionettes. You've collaborated with Molly McGreevy, right?
What I had her do was move them. So I directed
Okay.
how to move them
Okay.
and then I'd film it. I needed somebody moving them. So I did collaborate with her in terms of moving, but I made everything. So
Right.
that's why just to clear that up.
But she's in the complex with you, right?
Well, not anymore. She
Oh,
already
okay.
moved, but it's a great complex. And one of the things for people from Philly, it's a really nice art scene down here in terms of, and Blaze and Virginia were able to come by, and you're all welcome to. But there are about 15 different, and they're all women. They're all women artists, and they're all doing really interesting things, different but interesting things. And it's kind of there's gardens here. There's the person that runs it made a garden, and it's really kind of a special place. So that's been great.
So that's why you're willing to drive an hour and a half.
That's part of yeah. And part
Yeah.
of the thing is it's right in northern Miami. So it's the very beginning of Miami, and then so my house is, I don't have to go into Miami.
And
So
can you say the name of the complex again, or the
it's
center?
called the Collective 62.
Collective 62.
And you can look it up online and see some of the other people's work, which is really nice. A lot of women.
Jeannie, I have one more question.
Yeah.
When we started doing viewing room shows, it was mostly with younger artists who had, in the last 5, 10 years, had their Fleischer Wind Challenge shows. But at some point last year, it occurred to me that Dina herself didn't have her first show till she was almost 50, once my brother and I were out of the house.
Right.
And it's really important for the foundation to not get stuck on emerging artists,
Right.
and to really be more
Right. I'd agree with that.
to explore more broadly artists in early and mid careers in different stages. So I'm curious, since you are a representative now of the more mature side of artists,
Yes.
what feels different or the same to you between your practice and you as an artist when you had that Fleischer show back in the 70s, and how you approach the world as an artist now?
That's a loaded question. What I will say about that is that I think it's a really good idea to have different age groups in there because it gives different perspectives. I think each generation, we're all conditioned by our own, what we grew up with to some extent. And in the art world, there are certain fads that go through and concerns that go through. And so to mix it up so that it's not all one generation or two generations that have particular ways of seeing, but you mix it up so you have multiple ways, very different ways of seeing things. In terms of myself, I just feel teaching was an important part, and that now I have the freedom to just work, which is a very different kind of experience and time. And you get a broader understanding of how things come and go and how short-lived it all is and how short time is in general, just to explore things. You know, I'd say that's the biggest difference. I think I was more concerned with what other people thought when I was younger. You know, and right now I just don't care. You know, I'm more concerned with what is it I'm trying to do and what is it I'm interested in.
Your show that we saw in New York, and I mean, just seeing your work in general, I'm really struck by your sense of freedom. And
Oh, thank you.
you are just being you know, and clearly not holding back, not feeling constrained by expectations or scripts. You know,
It's one of the things I'm trying to do, and it's a constant struggle. And, you know, I feel like that's for me, that's the most important thing. It's the same kind of unconditioning or freedom or whatever you want to say that I feel we all, yeah, as a culture need. I'm trying to do that for myself as well. To open up, you know, possibilities. I do want to say one thing. I want to say hi to Paige, who's here. I can see her name because she was one of my students, one of my wonderful students. So I want to say hi to her. So,
Hi, Jeannie.
there she is. I saw your name. I didn't see
I've been
your, but I
running
wanted to
around
say
after work, so I wasn't
hi.
on video. I miss you. I'll
Hi.
talk to you soon.
I miss you too. Take care. So anyway, that I think
Yeah.
also I've seen three different art scenes. One in Philly, one in New York, one down here, and I've been part of all of them. And I can see like the difference of focus and what is considered valuable in each one, and it's different. But I can also see how the structure, the institutions of art dictate so much and just endlessly dictate all kinds of things. And that's the part of art I don't like. And it's at times made me want to stop because I haven't wanted to participate in all of that. So
Are you talking about like the commercial gallery scene or?
yeah, just in the social hierarchical stuff that happens in the art world, it's enough that it's made me really question stopping. Because your time's limited. And how do you want to spend it? Now, I don't want to spend it doing that. So I'm trying to just do the work and then do the best I can with sharing it, but not get caught up in all of it, if that makes any sense.
Definitely. I think every artist listening can relate.
Yeah, that's what I'm really trying to do. So, any other questions before we go?
Jeannie, I was wondering if you could say a little more about the Seminole Project and working with the Seminole community.
Yeah. The problem, as you must know, is I'm not Seminole. So we have all these prejudices that you can't actually. I just at Anderson, I got a really good book I haven't started yet that somebody told me about speaking near. So there is this attitude that you can't speak about anything you're not. Okay. And that keeps us all pretty divided. It really keeps us and at odds with each other rather than in dialogue and conversation. So I forget the name of the book, but there's somebody writing about how one can speak nearby and that you get multiple voices about the same thing. So that you don't have to just be, it's like writers. Can they write about women if they're a man? You can never get outside of your own world if you can't investigate something else. So I did make contact with the Seminole tribe. They're pretty far away. It's like 2.5 hours. So that makes it just very hard to work, going back and forth on that. But yeah, history is a lot harder to play with. Yeah, thanks for the question, Jean. So I want to thank all of you for coming. It was just so nice to see so many faces. I know. Thank you. Thank you very
Jeannie,
much.
thank you.
Jeannie. Great to see
Thank
you.
you. Bye,
You-
everybody. So good to see you. Take care. Bye-bye. Be well.
Okay, thank you all. And this conversation will find its way onto the Viewing Room show, which officially is up through the end of this month, but there's still a little index on our viewing rooms that you'll be able to check it out later if you wish. So thank you so much for joining us and have a good night.